Hello and welcome. Let's be honest for a moment. Have you noticed that opening a stubborn jar lid feels a little tougher than it used to? Or that carrying in all the grocery bags in one trip has become a thing of the past? Maybe getting out of your favorite armchair feels like a bit more of an event these days. You're not imagining it, and you are certainly not alone. This slow, creeping loss of strength is one of the most frustrating parts of getting older. But what if I told you it's not as inevitable as you might think? Here's a fact that might surprise you. Scientific research shows that after the age of 50, we can lose muscle mass at a rate of 1 to 2% every single year. And for our friends and family over the age of 80, a condition of significant muscle loss, which has a medical name, can affect as many as 1 in 2 people. That's a coin flip. This is something doctors are well aware of, but in a typical 15-minute checkup, there's often not enough time to go beyond the basics of eat right and exercise. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on what's really happening inside our bodies, and, more importantly, what we can do about it from our own kitchens. And if you've been telling yourself, well, this is just what getting older feels like, I'm here today to respectfully challenge that idea. Feeling weaker is common, but it does not have to be your destiny. In the next 25 minutes, we're going on a deep dive. We're going to uncover the top 10 nutritional culprits that accelerate this strength loss and give you a powerful, science-backed toolkit to start rebuilding your strength and reclaiming your vitality, starting today. The problem we're tackling today has a medical name, sarcopenia. It comes from the Greek words for poverty of flesh, which is a pretty dramatic way of saying age-related muscle loss. It's the progressive loss of not just muscle size, but also muscle strength and function. And it's a big deal. Sarcopenia is a primary reason for a loss of independence, and it dramatically increases the risk of falls, fractures, and frailty. But here's the empowering truth. While we can't stop the clock, we can absolutely slow it down and even reverse some of this muscle loss. Our ambitious goal for this video is to give you a clear nutritional roadmap to fight back. To do this, we're not relying on fads or fiction. We'll be drawing on research and guidelines from some of the most trusted names in American medicine, including the Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins Medicine, and the National Institute on Aging. We're going to get into the real science, but I promise to break it down into plain, simple English. To make this actionable, we're going to count down the top 10 nutritional culprits that contribute to muscle loss, from number 10 all the way down to the number 1 most important factor. For each one, we'll talk about why it happens, and I'll give you a simple, concrete action step you can take. You'll definitely want to stick around for our top 3. Number 2, in particular, is something most of us get wrong every single day without realizing it. And number 1 is the secret key that unlocks the power of all the other advice we'll talk about. And of course, a quick but very important reminder. I am not a doctor, and this video is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice from your personal physician. Always consult your healthcare provider with any questions about your health or before making any significant changes to your diet or lifestyle. All right, are you ready to start building a stronger you? Let's begin our countdown. All right, coming in at number 10 is one of the most overlooked yet simplest factors in muscle health: chronic low-grade dehydration. Now, you might be thinking, dehydration? I drink when I'm thirsty. But here's the deception. As we age, our natural sense of thirst actually diminishes. On top of that, our kidneys, the master regulators of our body's fluid balance, become less efficient at conserving water. This combination creates a perfect storm where it's incredibly easy to live in a state of being just a little bit dehydrated all the time, without ever feeling ragingly thirsty. Up to 40% of adults over 65 may experience this chronic dehydration. So why does this matter for our muscles? Let's use an analogy. Think of a single muscle cell as a tiny, plump grape. When it's fully hydrated, it's firm, responsive, and functions perfectly. It's ready for action. But when it's dehydrated, that cell starts to shrivel up, a bit like a raisin. Scientific research shows that this cell shrinkage isn't just a passive thing. It actually sends a powerful chemical message throughout your body. It acts as a catabolic signal, which is a fancy word for a message to your body to break down tissue, including your precious muscle tissue, for energy and resources. So by not drinking enough water, you could be unintentionally telling your body to weaken itself. I think of my neighbor, Carol. She was in her early 70s and was always complaining about nagging fatigue and terrible muscle cramps, especially in her calves at night. She swore she was drinking plenty of fluids, but when we talked, it turned out her fluids were mostly a cup of coffee in the morning and a big glass of iced tea in the afternoon, both of which can actually have a diuretic effect, making you lose more fluid. When her doctor suggested she focus on plain water first, she was skeptical. But after just 1 week of consciously sipping water throughout the day, she called me up, amazed. Her leg cramps had vanished, and she said she felt a noticeable, steady energy she hadn't felt in years. So your action step here is beautifully simple. Get yourself a 32-ounce water bottle. You can find them anywhere. Your only goal for the day is to finish it by lunchtime, and then fill it up and finish it again by dinner time. It's not about chugging huge amounts at once, which can just send you running to the bathroom. It's about steady, consistent sipping that keeps your muscle cells happy and plump all day long. And don't forget, water-rich foods like cucumbers, celery, watermelon, and even soups and broths count towards your daily total. Now, it's important to mention the red flags. If you're experiencing symptoms of more severe dehydration, like confusion, extreme dizziness, very dark-colored urine, or an inability to keep fluids down, that's a signal to call your doctor right away. Also, and this is critical, if you have underlying conditions like congestive heart failure or kidney disease, your fluid needs are very specific and must be managed by your healthcare provider. Don't make any big changes without consulting them first. So we've covered what you drink, but what you don't eat can be just as damaging. That brings us directly to culprit number 9. At number 9, we have what I call the empty calorie crisis, or more simply, not eating enough food, period. This might sound counterintuitive in a world that's always talking about weight loss, but for many older adults, the bigger risk is actually undernutrition. As we get older, our appetite can naturally decrease for a whole host of reasons. Our sense of taste and smell can change, making food less appealing. We might have dental issues that make chewing difficult, or we may simply be less active and therefore feel less hungry. But here's the thing. Your body has a non-negotiable energy budget it has to meet every single day just to keep your heart beating, your lungs breathing, and your brain thinking. Think of it like your household finances. If your income, the calories you eat, is less than your daily expenses, you have to pull money from your savings account to cover the difference. For your body, the most accessible savings account it has is your muscle tissue. When you're in a calorie deficit, your body will literally start to break down your own muscle to get the energy and protein it needs to survive. This is a condition known as protein energy malnutrition, and it's a major, often hidden, cause of accelerated weakness and frailty in seniors. I remember visiting my uncle right after he retired. He was a big, strong guy his whole life. but he'd started skipping lunch, just saying he just wasn't hungry. He was proud that he was losing weight, but he was also becoming noticeably frail. He couldn't understand why he felt so weak when he was still eating healthy at breakfast and dinner. The truth was, he was in a calorie deficit, and his body was paying the price by cashing in his hard-earned muscle. Your action step here isn't to force-feed yourself or eat when you're not hungry. It's to be strategic. If 3 big meals a day feel overwhelming, make a switch to 4 or 5 smaller, nutrient-dense mini meals or snacks throughout the day. This is much more manageable. Think about things like a handful of almonds, a cup of full-fat Greek yogurt, a hard-boiled egg, or half an avocado on a piece of whole wheat toast. These are easy to eat, but they pack a powerful nutritional punch. The goal is to consistently meet your body's energy budget, so it doesn't have to raid your muscle savings account. The red flag to watch for here is unintentional weight loss. The frailty criteria, developed by researchers at Johns Hopkins, includes unintentionally losing 10 or more pounds in the past year. If that's happened to you, or if you have a medical condition, or take medications that you know suppress your appetite, it's crucial to discuss this with your healthcare provider or a registered dietitian. They can help you create a personalized plan to ensure you're getting the nourishment you need to stay strong. So we know we need enough calories, but the kind of calories we consume matters immensely. In fact, one particular type of calorie can actively sabotage our muscles. Let's talk about that at number 8. Coming in at number 8 is a villain we all know and love to hate, but we might not realize how directly it attacks our muscles. Excess sugar. We're not talking about the natural sugar in a piece of fruit. We're talking about added sugars found in sodas, pastries, cookies, candies, and hidden in countless processed foods like sauces, salad dressings, and breakfast cereals. When we eat a lot of these simple sugars or refined carbohydrates, our blood sugar spikes dramatically. In response, our pancreas releases a flood of the hormone insulin to shuttle that sugar out of the bloodstream and into our cells for energy. This system works pretty well when we're young. But as we age, our muscles can become less sensitive to insulin signals. This is called insulin resistance. Here's an analogy. Think of insulin as a delivery driver knocking on your muscle cell's door, trying to deliver a package of energy. When you're young, the muscle cell hears the knock right away, opens the door, and accepts the package. But as we get older, and with a high-sugar diet, it's like the muscle cell has put on noise-canceling headphones. Insulin is knocking and knocking, but the door never opens. The sugar package gets left on the porch, floating around in your bloodstream, where it causes all sorts of problems. The most important problem for our topic today is that high levels of sugar in the blood create a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation. This inflammation is like a constant, smoldering fire inside your body. It's a key factor that accelerates muscle breakdown and makes it much, much harder for your body to build new muscle. You can be eating plenty of protein, but if your body is constantly on fire with inflammation from sugar, you're fighting an uphill battle. I have a friend, a wonderful woman in her late 60s, who had a real sweet tooth. It was a Danish for breakfast, a soda with lunch, and a couple of cookies in the afternoon. She was also dealing with a lot of general aches and what she called feeling puffy. Her doctor finally connected the dots for her, explaining the link between her high sugar intake and chronic inflammation. Cutting back was tough for her at first, but when she started replacing those sugary snacks with whole fruit and nuts, she said it was like a fog lifted. Her joints felt better, and she had more steady, reliable energy, not that awful spike and crash cycle she was used to. Your action step is to become a sugar detective. For 1 week, make a point to start reading the nutrition labels on the packaged foods you eat. You will be shocked at where added sugar is hiding. The American Heart Association recommends that women consume no more than 6 teaspoons or 24 grams of added sugar per day, and men no more than 9 teaspoons or 36 grams. For reference, a single can of soda can have 39 grams, blowing your whole day's budget at once. A simple, powerful swap is to replace one sugary drink or snack each day with a piece of whole fruit. You still get the sweetness, but it comes packaged with fiber and nutrients that help your body manage it properly. The red flag here is very clear. If you have been diagnosed with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, managing your sugar intake is not just a suggestion, it's a medical necessity. You must work closely with your doctor, a certified diabetes educator, or a dietitian to manage your blood sugar levels. Doing so will have a direct and profound impact on your muscle health and your overall well-being. Now that we've talked about putting out the inflammatory fire caused by sugar, let's talk about a mineral that acts as the spark plug for our muscles. Its absence is our number 7 culprit. At number 7, we have a deficiency in a crucial helper mineral that, according to some estimates, up to 70 or 80% of adults over 70 don't get enough of. Magnesium. Magnesium is a true workhorse. It's involved in over 300 essential biochemical reactions in your body, and a huge number of them happen right inside your muscle cells. It's vital for energy production, nerve function, and maintaining a steady heartbeat. But its role in muscle is particularly direct. Here's a great way to think about it. In your muscles, calcium and magnesium work as a team, but they have opposite jobs. Think of your muscle like a car engine. Calcium is the signal to go. It's what tells a muscle fiber to contract and tense up. But magnesium is the equally important signal to relax and let go. You need both for the engine to run smoothly. When you're deficient in magnesium, it's like the relax signal is broken. Your muscles get the signal to contract, but they have a hard time letting go. This is a primary cause of those frustrating muscle cramps, twitches, spasms, and feelings of weakness. Many older adults complain about those awful nighttime leg cramps that jolt them awake. They might try stretching or walking it off, but the cramps keep coming back. While there can be many causes for this, one of the very first things a savvy doctor or nutritionist will investigate is a potential magnesium deficiency. It's truly amazing how often simply adding some magnesium-rich foods back into the diet can quiet down those twitchy, angry muscles and lead to a more peaceful night's sleep. So your action step is simple. Go green and nutty. Magnesium is incredibly abundant in dark leafy green vegetables like spinach and Swiss chard, and in nuts and seeds, especially almonds, cashews, and pumpkin seeds. A single ounce of almonds or cashews, that's about a handful, provides 20% of your daily needs. Other fantastic sources include legumes like black beans and lentils, and even whole grains. A fantastic, easy goal is to have a handful of nuts as a snack, or add a cup of cooked spinach to your dinner. That alone can make a huge difference. Now for the red flags. Getting magnesium from food is perfectly safe. However, you should be cautious with high-dose supplements unless directed by your doctor. If you are experiencing persistent and severe muscle spasms, unexplained weakness, or an abnormal heart rhythm, these are clear signs to discuss with your doctor. They can check your magnesium levels with a simple blood test and recommend the right course of action. This is especially important because certain common medications, like some diuretics and acid reducers, can interfere with your body's ability to absorb magnesium. Magnesium helps the muscle itself function correctly. But what tells the muscle to function in the first place? That's a job for your nerves. And our number 6 culprit is a vitamin deficiency that can cut the lines of communication between your brain and your muscles. Coming in at number 6 is a problem that is especially common in older adults, often because our ability to absorb it from food declines with age. A vitamin B12 deficiency. Vitamin B12 is absolutely essential for the health of your entire nervous system. Here's the best way to visualize its role in muscle strength. Think of your brain as the command center and your muscles as the troops out in the field. The nerves are the telephone lines that carry the orders from the command center to the troops. Vitamin B12 is critical for creating and maintaining the protective coating or insulation called the myelin sheath around those telephone lines. If you become deficient in B12, that insulation starts to fray and wear thin. The electrical signal from the brain gets weak, it gets distorted, or sometimes it doesn't arrive at all. The result is muscle weakness, fatigue, and problems with balance, not because the muscle itself is broken, but because it's simply not getting the right commands from headquarters. I once spoke with a gentleman named Frank, who in his late 70s started struggling with serious balance issues and a strange, persistent tingling, pins and needles feeling in his feet. He was terrified he was developing a serious neurological disease. His doctor, thankfully, ran a full panel of blood tests and discovered he was severely deficient in vitamin B12. After a few weeks of doctor-prescribed B12 supplementation, Frank's balance improved dramatically, and that awful tingling sensation subsided. It wasn't some scary, irreversible disease. It was a simple and thankfully fixable nutrient gap. Your action step here is to be mindful of your B12 sources. Vitamin B12 is found almost exclusively in animal products. So, if you're not already, ensure you're regularly eating good sources like lean meat, poultry, fish, especially salmon and tuna, eggs, and dairy products like milk and yogurt. If you follow a strict vegetarian or vegan diet, it is absolutely essential that you talk to your doctor about B12 supplementation, as you are at a very high risk for developing a deficiency. And the red flags for this one are critical. Please listen closely. If you are experiencing neurological symptoms like numbness or a tingling pins and needles feeling in your hands or feet, unexplained muscle weakness, or new problems with your balance and coordination, these are major red flags. Do not just dismiss it as getting older. Specifically ask your doctor to test your vitamin B12 levels. An untreated, severe deficiency can lead to irreversible nerve damage, so early detection is key. Let's take a quick breath. We're halfway through our countdown. So far, we've talked about the sneaky ways our strength can be undermined. By number 10, dehydration. Number 9, not eating enough calories. Number 8, the sabotage of sugar. Number 7, a shortage of magnesium. And number 6, the nerve signal gap from B12 deficiency. The common thread here is that these are often hidden factors that can have a huge cumulative impact on how we feel and function every day. Now, are you ready for the top 5? This is where we get into the real game changers, the nutrients that don't just support your muscles, but actively help them grow stronger. And by the way, if you're finding this information helpful and empowering, do me a quick favor and tap that like button down below. It's a small click for you, but it's a huge signal to YouTube that this is valuable information, and it helps other folks just like you find our community. Thank you so much for that. All right, let's dive into the top 5. Starting with number 5, we're going to talk about protecting your muscles from an invisible form of damage. At number 5, we have a lack of what I like to call antioxidant armor. The scientific name for these powerful protective compounds, found mostly in plants, is polyphenols. Every single day, Just by living and breathing, our bodies are under a constant, low-level attack from something called oxidative stress. It's a natural byproduct of turning food into energy. The best analogy is to think about the way a piece of metal gets rust when it's exposed to air and moisture. A similar rusting process happens on a cellular level inside our bodies. This oxidative stress can damage our muscle cells, making them less efficient and contributing directly to the progression of sarcopenia. Antioxidants and polyphenols, which are abundant in colorful fruits, vegetables, and other plant foods, are like a can of rust-proof spray for your cells. They patrol your body, neutralizing these damaging rust particles, called free radicals, before they can harm your muscles. They form a protective shield, helping to preserve muscle mass and function. We all know someone who seems to age incredibly well. Someone who is just full of energy and vitality, well into their 70s and 80s. More often than not, if you take a peek at their dinner plate, it's not about restriction, it's about abundance. They are the ones with a bowl of deep blue blueberries on their oatmeal, a big, colorful salad for lunch, and a side of dark green broccoli with their dinner. Without even thinking about the science, they are constantly supplying their body with this protective antioxidant armor. So your action step is simple and delicious. Eat the rainbow. You don't need to memorize the complicated names of all the different polyphenols like flavonoids or catechins. Just focus on color. The deep blue of blueberries, the rich red of strawberries and tomatoes, the dark green of spinach and kale, the vibrant orange of carrots and sweet potatoes, and even the dark brown of high-quality dark chocolate or pure cocoa powder. Your goal should be to get at least 3 different vibrant colors of fruits and vegetables on your plate every single day. For most people, getting these protective compounds from whole foods is completely safe and highly beneficial. The red flag to mention is that if you are considering taking very high-dose antioxidant supplements, it's a good idea to discuss this with your doctor first. In some cases, extremely high doses of isolated supplements can interfere with certain medications or have other unintended effects. Food first is always the safest bet. So, antioxidants protect our muscles from damage. But what about that chronic smoldering fire of inflammation we talked about earlier? Our number 4 culprit is a lack of the one nutrient that acts as the body's own internal fire department. Coming in hot at number 4 is a deficiency in the specific type of healthy fats that are famous for fighting inflammation: omega-3 fatty acids. As we've established, chronic inflammation is a major driver of muscle breakdown in the aging process. If you imagine that inflammation as a constant, smoldering fire in your body, then omega-3 fatty acids, specifically the types called EPA and DHA, found most abundantly in fish oil, are the firefighters. They are biologically active molecules that send signals to your body to cool things down and put out that fire. But recent science has discovered they do something even more exciting. Beyond just fighting inflammation, omega-3s appear to make your muscles more sensitive to the muscle-building signals from protein. They help prime the pump for muscle growth. In other words, they make the protein you eat work even better, enhancing the anabolic or muscle-building response. Think about someone you know with arthritis, who starts incorporating more fatty fish, like salmon, into their diet. What do they often report? That their joints feel less stiff, less swollen, and less achy. That is the powerful anti-inflammatory effect of omega-3s at work in a very tangible way. Now, I want you to imagine that same soothing, calming effect happening on a microscopic level inside your muscles. That's the environment we want to create to protect and build strength. The most potent food sources of the superstar omega-3s, EPA and DHA, are fatty, cold water fish. So, your action step is to try and eat a serving of salmon, mackerel, herring, or sardines at least twice a week. A serving is about 3 to 4 ounces, or the size of a deck of cards. If you're just not a fish eater, that's okay. You should talk to your doctor about taking a high-quality fish oil or, for a plant-based option, an algae-based omega-3 supplement, which is where the fish get their omega-3s from in the first place. The main red flag for omega-3s is for individuals who are taking blood-thinning medications like warfarin. Because omega-3s can have a mild blood-thinning effect themselves, it is essential that you speak with your doctor before starting a supplement. They can advise you on a safe dosage that won't interfere with your medication. We're into the top 3. These next nutrients are the absolute pillars of building and maintaining strong muscles. And number 3 is a vitamin that most of us associate with our bones. But it turns out it's just as critical for the muscles that move those bones. Our number 3 most critical factor for muscle strength is a deficiency in the sunshine vitamin, vitamin D. For decades, we've known that vitamin D is crucial for helping our bodies absorb calcium to build and maintain strong bones. But what modern science has discovered is that we have vitamin D receptors directly in our muscle cells. This was a game-changing discovery. It means vitamin D plays a direct role in muscle health and function. Specifically, vitamin D appears to be most important for the health and function of our type 2 muscle fibers. Here's a simple way to think about it. Your muscles have 2 main types of fibers. Type 1 fibers are for endurance, like going for a long, steady walk. But your type 2 fibers are your fast-twitch fibers. They are responsible for power and quick, forceful reactions. They are what you use to push yourself up out of a chair, to lift a heavy object, or, most importantly, to catch yourself and prevent a fall if you stumble. Vitamin D deficiency has been directly linked in muscle biopsies to the wasting away or atrophy of these critical type 2 fibers. A real-world evidence for this is powerful. Many large-scale studies, particularly those looking at fall prevention in nursing homes and assisted living facilities, have found a direct and powerful link between low vitamin D levels and a higher risk of falls. When they supplement the residents to bring their vitamin D levels up into a healthy range, they consistently see significant improvements in muscle performance, balance, and a measurable reduction in the number of dangerous falls. Here's the challenge. It is very difficult to get enough vitamin D from food alone. While some is found in fatty fish, egg yolks, and fortified milk, our primary source is supposed to be from our skin's exposure to sunlight. The problem is, as we age, our skin becomes much less efficient at producing vitamin D from the sun. Therefore, for most older adults, especially those living in northern climates, some level of supplementation is necessary. So, your action step for this crucial vitamin is to be proactive. Ask your doctor to specifically test your vitamin D level. The name of the test is a 25-hydroxyvitamin D test. Based on that result, your doctor can recommend the appropriate daily dose of a vitamin D3 supplement for you to reach and maintain a healthy level in your blood. The red flag here is simple. Don't guess your dosage. Taking too much vitamin D can be toxic, and taking too little won't help. This is not a more is better situation. An annual blood test and a conversation with your healthcare provider is the safest and most effective way to manage your vitamin D status. Vitamin D gets our power fibers ready for action. But what do we need to actually build those fibers in the first place? That brings us to the absolute cornerstone of muscle maintenance, our number 2 culprit. At number 2, we have the single most common and most damaging nutritional mistake that older adults make when it comes to their strength: not eating enough protein, and, just as importantly, eating it at the wrong times. Here's one of the most important concepts we'll discuss today. As we age, our bodies develop a condition that scientists call anabolic resistance. Anabolic just means building up. So, anabolic resistance means our muscles become less responsive to the signals that tell them to grow and repair. Let's use an analogy. Think of the protein you eat as a message you're sending to your muscles to build and get stronger. When you were 20 years old, eating a small chicken breast was like sending that message via a loudspeaker. The muscles heard it loud and clear and got to work. But now that you're over 60, it's like your muscles have become a little hard of hearing. To get the same message across, you have to speak up. You need to send a stronger signal. This is why the old recommended dietary allowance for protein, which is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight, is now considered by many experts in aging to be insufficient for older adults. Research from institutions like the Mayo Clinic suggests that to overcome this anabolic resistance and maintain muscle, older adults need more, like 1.0 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. But it gets even more specific. Your body is like a construction site that can only handle so many deliveries at once. Studies show that your body can only effectively use about 25 to 30 grams of protein for muscle building at any one time. Any extra protein you eat in a single meal doesn't get stored for later muscle building. It mostly gets used for energy or converted to fat. This is why the typical American diet, a low-protein breakfast of toast or cereal, a slightly larger lunch, and then a giant steak or piece of chicken at dinner, is so ineffective for muscle health. It's like trying to build a brick wall by having all the bricks for the entire day delivered at 5 p.m. The builders are overwhelmed, and most of the bricks go to waste. You need a steady supply of bricks delivered throughout the day. Let's imagine two 70-year-old women, both eating a respectable 80 grams of protein per day. Let's call them Jane and Susan. Jane has a piece of toast for breakfast, 5 grams of protein, a small salad with a sprinkle of cheese for lunch, 10 grams, and then a huge 9-ounce piece of salmon for dinner, 65 grams. She's tired and feels weak. Susan, on the other hand, has 2 eggs and a cup of Greek yogurt for breakfast, 25 grams, a sandwich with 4 ounces of sliced turkey for lunch, 30 grams, and a more modest 4-ounce piece of salmon for dinner, 25 grams. Susan is consistently giving her muscles the building blocks they need, right when they can use them. She feels stronger and has more stamina. Same total amount of protein, but a totally different result. Your action step for this is twofold. First, figure out your daily protein target. Take your weight in pounds, divide it by 2.2 to get your weight in kilograms, and then multiply that number by 1.2. That's your daily goal in grams of protein. Second, and this is the most important part, spread that protein out. Aim to get at least 25 to 30 grams of protein at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This might mean adding eggs, cottage cheese, or Greek yogurt to your breakfast, or blending a scoop of protein powder into a morning smoothie. It means making a quality protein source the star of every single meal, not just an afterthought at dinner. The critical red flag here is for anyone with chronic kidney disease. Your protein needs are very different and must be managed under the close supervision of your doctor or a renal dietitian. For everyone else, getting adequate protein from whole food sources like lean meats, poultry, fish, eggs, dairy, and legumes is not only safe, but one of the most beneficial things you can do for your strength. Okay, we've arrived at number one. This is the final piece of the puzzle. We know we need more protein, and we need it spread throughout the day. But there is one specific component within that protein that acts as the master switch, the ignition key that starts the entire muscle-building engine. Without enough of this, even a high-protein diet can fall short. This is the most important secret we'll share today. And the number one most critical nutritional factor for rebuilding strength after 50 is getting enough of the essential amino acid, leucine. If protein is the collection of bricks you need to build your muscle wall, leucine is the foreman on the job site who blows the whistle and yells, "Okay, crew, time to get to work." Leucine is one of the 9 essential amino acids, but it's unique. It acts as a direct signaling molecule. It is the specific trigger that tells your body to kickstart the process of muscle protein synthesis, the scientific term for building new muscle. Remember that anabolic resistance we just talked about? Leucine is the key to overcoming it. Research has shown that meals that are low in leucine fail to stimulate muscle growth in older adults, even if there's a decent amount of other protein present. It's like having a pile of bricks, but no foreman to tell the workers what to do. But when you ensure a meal has enough leucine, that muscle-building switch gets flipped on, loud and clear. Scientists have done some fascinating studies that perfectly illustrate this. In one, they gave a group of older adults a meal with a modest amount of protein, and as expected, it barely moved the needle on their muscle growth. Then, they gave them the exact same meal, but this time, they simply stirred in a small, tasteless amount of pure leucine powder. The result was dramatic. Muscle protein synthesis shot up. It was the missing ignition key. This is the secret behind why you always hear about bodybuilders and athletes using whey protein supplements. It's not magic. Whey is just a dairy protein that happens to be naturally packed with an incredibly high concentration of leucine. So your final and most important action step is to prioritize leucine-rich protein sources at every single meal. The scientific goal is to get about 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine per meal to get that maximum muscle-building signal. You don't need to carry around a calculator and count every milligram. Just get familiar with the best sources. Animal-based proteins are fantastic. A 4-ounce serving of chicken breast, lean beef, or fish will easily get you there. A cup of Greek yogurt or cottage cheese is an excellent choice. For plant-based eaters, soy foods like tofu, tempeh, and edamame are your best bet, though you may need a slightly larger portion to hit the target. This is the ultimate strategy. Combine the how much from point number 2 with the what kind from point number 1. A meal with 25 to 30 grams of high leucine protein is the gold standard for fighting sarcopenia. When it comes to red flags, there are no specific concerns for consuming leucine-rich whole foods. It's a natural and essential part of a healthy diet. If for some reason you are considering taking a pure leucine supplement powder, it's always wise to mention it to your doctor as part of your overall health conversation, just as you would with any supplement. So, as we've seen today, fighting back against age-related muscle loss isn't about finding one magic pill or a single miracle food. It's about becoming the CEO of your own health. It's about a series of small, intelligent, and deliberate choices you can make every single day. Staying hydrated, fueling your body properly with enough calories, protecting it from the damage of sugar and inflammation, and most importantly, prioritizing high-quality, leucine-rich protein at every single meal. The most powerful message I want you to leave with today is this. You have far more control over your strength, your energy, and your independence than you might have believed. Sarcopenia is a formidable opponent, but it is not invincible. The tools are in your hands. by applying these nutritional strategies, especially when paired with some form of resistance exercise, you are giving your body exactly what it needs to stay strong and vital for years to come. Now, I want to hear from you. We covered a lot of ground today. Which of these 10 points was the biggest aha moment for you? Was it the importance of spreading your protein throughout the day? The role of vitamin D in your power muscles? Or maybe something as simple as the connection between hydration and muscle cramps? Please leave a comment down below. I promise you, I read every single one, and your story or your question might just be the thing that inspires someone else in our community. And finally, if you enjoyed this deep dive and you want more practical, science-backed content to help you live a healthier, more vibrant life after 50, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and ring the little notification bell. That way, you won't miss our next video. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. It's an investment in your health, and that's the best investment you can ever make. Here's to your strength. Here's to your health, and I'll see you in the next video.